From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Back again. For now, I decided to cut it into two. So we'll do two short episodes this week. Do me a favor. If you'd rather have like two 35-minute episodes that are on different things, I know we drift into a lot of topics in and out. But anyway, let me know. Hit the comments. But my name is John Gafford. Welcome to The Power Move. With me, to the left of me, as always, is Colt, the Bulgarian mongoose.
Colt, the iPhone
Amidan.
Colt? iPhone king. Colt, the iPhone
Colt,
king.
the green bubble killer.
Did you get one
Amidan. He did.
Yeah, and it's
boy.
He did.
Joey.
He did. Yes.
Joey.
No wonder our conversation is much
do I
nicer.
get more? Do I get 5 minutes of ranting right
you
now?
don't.
Or no?
You just had
You
5
already
minutes
had
of
it.
friends on there. You just had it. And across from us in the studio today, also Chris the counselor, Connell, as always, and special guest in the studio today. One of my great friends, one of my favorite people, loyal soldier, awesome dude, and amazing lender, Joey Ciaglia. And the reason I had Joey on today, and I asked him to come in today, is because today when I was working with all of our agents this morning, and I was doing my weekly meeting for our real estate agents, we were talking about the psyche of America when it comes to interest rates right now in terms of house buying. And I started telling my people, I said, look, the reason your sales are down are not because of the interest rates. It's because of your failure and your inability to explain this to people in a way that makes sense to them. You know, people with social media these days, everybody, all it takes is one pop-up guru to tell you that, oh man, the bubble's going to burst and this is it and whatever else. And all of a sudden it's like, well, my cousin Chad saw this guy on YouTube who listened to Gary Vee once, who saw a video that had that 10X in it. And all of a sudden, and now I'm not going to buy a house.
Yes.
And it doesn't stop. And so as professionals within the industry, I feel it is the responsibility of agents, of good agents, to perpetuate good information into the ecosystem of America. And I told them, I said, look, when you see a good chart, I saw one the other day that I loved, which is the historical interest rate chart. It showed it peaking up at like 19% back then, and then it shows like we're just kind of now back into a normal, I mean, even below normal.
Yeah, I was going
Still subnormal.
Still subnormal. We're not, it ain't 2% anymore, but we're still subnormal. And I said, when you see stuff like that, steal it and reshare it because you're just helping. Now, don't do the realtor stuff where you're staying in a house like, get your daddy to buy a house for my daddy because we need the money. Nobody cares about that shit. But perpetuating facts and things that actually make sense to people are really good. So I wanted to have Joe on today because he is an expert at explaining these things to people in a way that makes sense.
Sure.
So my first question is, Joe, let's talk about you for a minute. Let's get your background. I always, when I have people in here that are experts at what they do, I like to kind of get the fill on them.
I got my license 2 months ago. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling good.
Just passed the test and feeling pretty good.
Expert at a couple things.
That's right. Colt's been doing commercial real estate. Colt's been doing commercial real estate for 20 years. I don't know if he has a license.
And he's only 22, so that's even more impressive.
Wait,
Sure
you
is
have
license.
to have a license to do this?
Yeah,
For what?
That's
For what?
That's how.
Next, you're going to tell me I need a law license.
Yeah, you do.
You went to law
Did you
school?
get-
Get out of here.
Did you get-
I was going to become a lawyer.
The Hollywood
next week.
upstairs law school? Yeah.
Did you get a degree,
I
Chris?
did the full weekend, John. The
weekend,
full law
Put all
weekend.
the time in.
Yeah, you got your degree.
Some guys quit half the way through.
Yeah. After
true.
Friday evening,
Okay.
so it's like,
Well,
Did you notice that
well,
Joey got an amazing intro?
He did.
We get like
Not bad.
Colt
No,
and Chris.
well, they know who you are right now. But the reason
I don't know
people
if they do
the
they?
reason people quit on Saturday night at the weekend law class is because they say you got to pass the bar, and then there it is.
What's a
So
bar?
they just step in on Saturday. It's all right. We'll explain to you.
I went
later.
drink at a bar.
So back to you, Joe. So how long have you been doing this? I mean, I know, but let the folks. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this 21 years.
21 years.
I
So
just
if
turned
your
23.
if your mortgage degree was a person, it'd be stripping at the Rhino. Is that what you're trying to tell me? That's what you're trying to tell
it might be Little D's because that place is
Little
like,
D's.
that'll make it through anything.
I mean,
There you go. But anyway, so 23 years you've been doing
Yes,
this.
but what's important to mention
What's
is
that?
I don't know everything. I'm still learning. I constantly am learning and trying to perfect my craft in this business because what might have been 6 months ago is no longer. So we're constantly having to re-up that knowledge. And it's not just the continuing education courses that you do every year. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
This is staying in the know on what's going on in the financial markets. How are the big lenders setting price? Because those are the ones you really need to watch. It's not the mom and pop mortgage shop that's really dictating what's happening out there. It's watching the big boys. It's the Rocket Mortgages, the PennyMacs, the United Wholesale Mortgage, all these big guys that have
Access
market makers. They have access to the money. They're the ones that are hedging. So when they're hedging, those are the ones that I'm following to make sure that I have all the knowledge to pass along to my realtors and clients.
To your clients. So let's compare the markets now. Okay, let's talk about, you've been doing this 23 years. And obviously, Las Vegas was the epicenter for the implosion back in 2005, 2006. Yes. And in no way am I implying by saying that it's going to happen again. But what I am saying is part of what caused that crash, over and above all of the indicators, the ninja loans, all of those things that happened, nobody had skin in the game, the rapid, depreciation. But what got that ball rolling was consumer confidence in the markets plummeted, right? So as somebody that was around in 2005, now there's a lot of things going for the market now before you be like, oh my God, he's going to say that's the same thing now. There's so many things going on in the market now that are different from then. Everything. That will prevent that from happening again. But consumer confidence is something that's very important to the health of any market. Are you seeing, or did you see some similarities when rates spiked up then to now? Did you see any similarities?
Actually, no.
Okay.
So in all fairness, I think that, we have a lot of crazy things going on in our country right now, right? We could all agree on that. And whether it's inflation, whether it's financial markets, whether it's the stock market, they're all tied together in some form or fashion, right? So I think that what we've experienced in the last 3 years with interest rates being at an all-time low, which we may never see again. Yeah. We may never see a 30-year fixed rate at 2.25% again. Yep. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. That's a healthy market. So I believe we're experiencing a healthy market right now, but there's a little bit of shock value for the people that aren't educated, that's why we're here today to talk about getting that education. But you've got, I believe the Fed made an error in the last couple of years. This should have been done a long time ago.
Totally agree.
So what we've experienced in the last 3 years was a gift. We may not get that gift again. So some people that were able to benefit from that, that's great, that's wonderful, but it doesn't compare in any fashion to what we went through back in 2005, 6, and 7 that was leading up to why everything came down. Yeah. And the reason, just for your listeners, that things came down was because the mortgage loans that these banks were putting out
were garbage.
They were garbage.
Yeah.
But not only were they garbage, they were packaged
as garbage,
as gold, beautiful paper, but it was still garbage.
Well, because everybody could pass it on and make their fees, right? They just kept going. Cool. Lender makes their
rating agencies. Rating agencies got this thing. When you take a strip off a AAA bond, throw it in a pile of dog shit, and they would give it a AAA.
AAA.
Yeah. That's the basic crux of what that was.
So it's just a matter of time before that house of cards comes falling down. So you fast forward 15 years to where we are now. For the last 10, we've been writing good mortgages.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't just me talking. You guys would know this probably more than me, but statistically speaking, people in this country have more equity in their homes than they've ever had in the history of the real estate market.
I agree.
So there's still opportunities out there for refinancing because, let's be honest, most people are fiscally irresponsible and they're always going to need cash to pay debt off. And if you can refinance your mortgage loan right now at 5.25%, that's a lot cheaper than paying 26% on a credit card that you're going to carry probably forever, right? Because people just can't get out.
We talked about this.
Yep, we talked about it last week.
So to answer your question, there's just been this huge shift where people have an out. So if Colt loses his job tomorrow, which based on the banter could be a real possibility. And
I don't even know if I have a job.
and he has to sell his home to live. There's enough money in there to pay the agents. There's enough money in there to put some money in his pocket and move on. We didn't have that luxury back in 2008 because we were writing terrible loans that were put in front of us that were becoming saleable in the secondary market.
Yeah. And there was just no skin in the game. It was easy to walk away from.
That secondary market was backed by the United States government based on the everyone in a home dream, right?
Yes.
Which is just so fundamentally against market principles, right?
Yep.
And then add on top of that some of these other concepts where it's like, too big to fail. We don't take our medicine as a country, right?
Yes. Having
these low interest rates is a way to keep it. You can only go to zero.
You
know what I mean? Like, and we're almost there.
That's not true.
They were giving negative.
Yeah, and Japan was giving away money, right?
They'll pay you to take their money.
But theoretically, right, you're supposed to take your medicine. When the economy's, bad, to help it, jumpstart, you're supposed to use quantitative easing to drop the interest rates. You sell paper, you buy paper. But the other part of that, like we're talking about the dichotomy, is then putting it up when the economy's heated up too much. And politically, it's suicide, because if you have an administration, right, that's doing really well, you should cool it off so that you're not, creating that situation. And that's what doesn't happen, because it's political suicide.
Yeah, this should have been taken care of a long time ago. And honestly, I remember when I came to Vegas, that interest rate that I bought was like 5.25%. And I thought, wow, I just made a steal.
Yep.
Because when I first got into it, 7.5 was normal. If you got 7, you were really doing good. And if you got like 8.5 on a commercial loan, you were freaking killing it. That was 20 years ago, right?
Cap rates were 9%.
Yeah. But when I got 5.25% interest rate, I'm like, holy cow, I just stole this. Right, like, but now everybody's like, "Oh my God, they quoted me 5.25. Like, that's crazy."
Well, it's like the Bill Burr deal. How quickly we become accustomed to things that we didn't know existed 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like private on.
Sorry, folks. The online internet is not going to work this time.
There's
Bullshit.
a sense of entitlement in the market, and there's a sense of false security that, this is just a normal time. And I would say to some of the newer agents, the agents that work for you, it's all about the education piece, right? If the houses aren't going anywhere, I firmly do not believe that we are going to have a massive reduction in price here. I really don't. I feel like people are going to sell because they have to, right? So I would be more concerned about the inventory issues than I would be about the interest.
Which are up. Inventory is up 50% over the last 4 weeks.
It's growing.
Which is still, but here's the thing, a good, healthy market is good for everybody.
But it's still insignificant relative to how it's been before.
Yes.
And we don't, tell me where we're going to build here. Where's the land? Apex, Sloan?
Yeah. Well, no, and I tell people that all the time, and that's one of the reasons when I give people, when they ask why Vegas will hold its value. And I say, look, you got to understand, Vegas is essentially an island. We're just surrounded by sand instead of surrounded by water. We don't have any more land.
Right.
The land isn't there. And so when you look at this, you've got to look at it as we're Manhattan in the desert.
Right.
That's what we are. I mean, tide's going to rise.
Speaking
of tides, and I said this morning, I said the thing I think that's hurting us in the market more right now, with the nationwide appearance of our market, is the damn barrels that keep floating up in Lake Mead. Because everybody's assumed like Lake Mead is like a bathtub and the cork is out and it's going to zero and we're all going to be drinking sand in like 6 months. Where we've had people on from the water district here that are like, look, we wouldn't have. Look, it's bad for boaters. We understand that, but we have plenty of water. Like we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
this country's not going to.
It's going to come down to water rights. One of my law professors is a water right absolute expert, like nation renowned expert.
In water rights?
In water rights.
Yeah. That's apiary whites.
And
apiary.
And so
he could have gone fancy right now.
No.
The only thing restraint he just used.
I thought he was for a minute.
We have another scholar on, so I'm not going to insult him. But.
Who's the scholar?
So he said that under any circumstance, you're always going to be able to get water here. It's not like a city's going to go waterless.
Yeah.
Okay. That's never going to happen. It may get more expensive to get here, but the water rights issue, we will be able to access water for all time here.
Yeah.
I mean, all they have to do is it'll just be costly. They're just going to have to pull California.
Yeah.
California they've got to figure that out. Once you take California out, we do not waste water in Vegas.
What do you mean take California out, Colt?
California
person? What are you
everywhere.
talking about?
We can give them to freaking Canada.
I always heard that the casinos would fly like a glacier in if they had to.
Set that just let it melt.
But it's money. Everybody thinks the U.S. government. I shouldn't say that because of Flint, Michigan, right? But the U.S. government is not going to allow a city to go out and have not
the
at 2
US
million.
Government. It's going to be the Nevada state legislators, and there's enough money.
You got to have the
government.
Water rights. That's a government.
Divert more of the Colorado River over here, and
it's not going to
I'm not saying not to worry about it because you don't need the costs of living here increasing, but it's.
But I'm just telling you, as somebody that has their finger on the pulse, because I hear my agents talk to people from around the country really think that. They're like,
Yeah.
I saw that mobster guy floated up the other day. You guys can be out of water in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You guys could be drinking sand. I'm not moving there. I'm just looking around to see if I can buy some scrap metal out of these houses when they all implode. It's like that's the kind of shit.
Funny, everybody it's probably not. That one was probably a mob hit, but the other bodies, they're not mob. But everybody just
The
wants
ones
it.
in barrels?
Those are. That's a mob. But it's only been the one. The other bodies have just been out there, like
Just floating.
But the New York Post loves to write about it. The Daily Mail, like all that.
We
It's
talked
really hurt in Vegas.
We
and
talked
that's-
about it last week.
Wait till they start excavating that land south of the.
Oh, they already did.
yeah,
No,
that's a
they used to
different
find
ballgame.
those bodies all the time doing Summerlin, doing the Southwest, but the developers didn't say nothing because you get shut down, right? But like that's the problem with Vegas is they love to write stuff. Like COVID got hit so hard because of a lot of stuff, but they were like, "Oh, Vegas will never rebound." Like the New York Times and all that just love to make Vegas such a crazy the end of the world always. Like I don't know why, but
It does make a
do.
great backdrop for disaster movies, though. I will give you that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Makes it
Pretty
great.
sweet. We need a Goodfellas 2 where Colt's asking his ma for a knife to get when he's got to go move the bodies.
Exactly.
scene, isn't it?
Yeah, last week we were talking about Colt's like, for $5,000, you can get $5,000 to go hunt bodies at Lake Mead. I go,
If you find a body, they'll give you $5,000.
I go, Colt, but after you find like the 8th one, I think they're going to figure out like.
Then you end up on the stand.
Yeah, maybe you know something.
I got a good attorney that's going to do.
This guy went missing 6 hours ago.
I found him.
Found them. $5,000, Liz.
Found him. Oh, was it
Please
Lake
find those
Mead?
guys.
I found him in Lake Las Vegas. It doesn't matter.
Same thing. So, what says you is the best way to
Kill somebody?
ease the psyche? No, Colt. Jesus. No. What says you, Joey, is the best? Joey, I need to specify the direction of these comments, is the best way to ease people's minds about rates. I want to hear what you say, and then I want to hear what I said, and see if it's the same.
So honestly, I don't try to overcomplicate things, right? For me, and I harp on this all the time, even with my team of loan officers, some of the newer folks, some of your seasoned folks that work for you, it's all about the education piece. Mm-hmm. The more you can educate these clients on what's going on, because I got to be honest with you, I'm an active loan officer. I get up every day and I go to the office and I write mortgages. That's all that I do, right? Mm-hmm. I live, breathe, eat, all of this. Since the rates increase, call it 90 days, right? Fair. That was the start of kind of I haven't had one person. I could look you right in the face and say, I haven't had one person not buy a house because they felt the interest rate market was out of control.
No.
Not even close, because this is normal.
Right.
This is a normal cycle in the business. What the beautiful thing is that this sets up the next boom, right? So it's gonna weed out a lot of the people that are agents and loan officers that are in the business, don't have a good book of business. If you're in this business as a loan officer and you haven't focused on building your agent base, you're in big trouble right now.
Yep.
Those guys are in big trouble. They're going back to, whatever they were doing before, and then they may hop on for the next refi boom. But the loan officers in this town that are successful, that will continue to be successful, have that agent base. And I'm not worried about the market. I'm not worried about the rate. So for me, wouldn't necessarily say that it's a psyche that I'm trying to correct with people. It's just strictly educating them what the market's doing. You know who your savvy buyers are. You know who your ones that aren't savvy. So you may have to spend a little bit more time explaining things over here to this guy because he does understand financial markets, where this person over here is concerned about one thing. And what's that one thing?
Their payment.
Payment.
That's exactly. See that I'm glad you said that, because that was exactly what I said today. I said it's so important to shift the narrative away from what the interest rate is, because in most cases the interest rate is irrelevant to anybody in their everyday life. It does not
couldn't
matter.
agree more.
It doesn't matter. And when people start talking about the interest rates are up, the interest rate, you need to get this down. And I tell people, ask them point blank, do you pay the interest rate every month, or do you make a payment on the house? You make a payment on the house. Get the conversation back to what you can afford based on the monthly expense that it comes out of their pocket, rather than what they could, how much of a dollar figure of a house they could have bought 90 days ago versus the dollar figure of a house they can buy now.
Yep. You're selling payment, not
And
rate.
I said, you need to, and this is what I told my agents today on my team. I said, literally, I'm on this board. I want in $50,000 increments from 500,000 to, I think I said 850. Let's just go a little over the median. Obviously, jumbos are a little different, but let's just go in here. Mm-hmm. And I said, every day as the rates move, I want to know with 10% down, what payment interest is on these numbers, because you should know this stuff. Mm-hmm. You should have when somebody says, I'm looking at $750,000 houses, you need to be able to translate that instantly to a payment.
Payment.
Yep.
So they should be advertising payment on their
1,000%.
Yes.
You need to be selling payment. And the reason I know that this is what you should be doing is this is what we were doing before the interest rates went to 2%. And people have such short memories and they don't remember how to have these conversations.
So let me ask you another question to that point.
Yeah.
What John's exactly saying. How many times do you get questions from people, or how many times do you hear opinions about the market that are novel? Because I haven't heard one. I've heard the same 4 or 5 or 6 arguments.
Oh, they're
or
different.
Statements
Okay.
that are novel or different. Like, hey, Bernard Barak once said, in this, we did a regression. Like, no, they're always like, there's going to be a crash because there was one before.
Bubble's going to burst because all markets are tied.
This is going to happen, and this is going to happen. There's 4 or 5 things that, as an agent, if you don't know how to educate on literally 5 statements about people's opinion about the market, right?
You're not going to find
you're
success.
an absolute failure.
Especially in residential.
Literally 5 that I could probably come up
In
with.
residential, for sure. Like this morning, I sat with some pretty smart dudes that were,
But every
they were
agent
going.
every agent also has the same opinion, and they rarely, to me, even when they're kind of right, they don't seem like an authority on it.
Right.
no.
When you're an agent and you speak with authority, you go, well, here's why that's not,
This is why it's not accurate.
here's why here's some information that's going to help you feel better about
Well,
this.
again,
Because they don't know, though. Most agents don't.
That's what I'm saying. Educate
because
yourself
they don't,
on
they
literally
don't
the
educate.
5
Yeah.
presupposed.
Like I sat
facts
there
people
today
know.
against 2 guys that I won't say what businesses they own or whatever. They own very large stuff in
It was
Vegas.
Chili's. Oh,
It was Chili's, and they
I
said,
got somebody else almost
Yeah.
made chili. I had somebody else almost made Chili's list today. Almost did.
Really?
Cowabunga Bay was right there.
Really?
Right there, buddy.
We're not going to hear
Don't worry.
background.
Don't
No,
about
I'm not going to tell a story because we're trying to spread positivity today, but it was close.
There might be another video,
Yeah.
though.
Man,
We'll
it was
wait for
close.
that one.
but you know what I'm saying?
Man,
Like,
it was
No,
close.
but it is
know
like
the 5 arguments
yeah,
that people have,
'cause
or
these guys
opinions,
were-
and own them.
Most
That's
people
the
don't know.
education
them.
piece.
That's
It's
right.
the education. If the agents aren't educated, how can you expect your client to make an informed decision if you're not giving them the information?
Well, here's my problem. Agents want to spend all of their time learning Tom Ferry scripts on how to close appointments.
Yes.
They don't learn anything else to say when they're in those appointments. They don't. Like, if you want to be the trusted advisor, you've got to know the market. Like, I ask every week at my meeting, I'll just throw questions out. How many houses on the market today? Mm-hmm. And hands will shoot up. And I know those people look every day.
Yes.
When I asked today, what's the interest rate? I got 6.5, 5.25, 4.8. I mean, it was all over the place. And I'm like, guys, how do you not know this? You need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
And look, I will boast when we are successful, and I will take the hits and responsibility when we are not. That's my fault. And that's why I was like, guys, we got to get better here.
It's such a loaded question, and I get the question all the time.
How's the market?
What's your rate today?
What's your rate today?
What's your interest?
There's so many different
What's your
factors.
credit score?
Yeah, there's so many different factors that go into that. But you heard the term subprime.
Yeah.
Right. So the new subprime is called non-QM, non-qualified mortgage is what it stands for. Not a bad loan. These loans are designed for people that have specific circumstances, like investors. We can do.
1099s,
Yeah.
Yep.
I have clients that they make all the money in the world, but he's like, I don't want to give you my tax return. It's 300 pages long. You don't need it. Okay, perfect. So you're going to put 30% down? Yes, I am. Here's your rate.
That's your loan.
That's your loan. So those programs, there's programs out there for everybody.
Yeah.
But to blanket it with one interest rate makes no sense, because a good loan officer, they sell it and they make it understandable to the client of, this is why I'm doing this. This is how much it's going to cost you. This is how long it's going to take you to get that money back. What do you want to do? And then I just turn it over to them, give them the choice. But if you don't give them the options and they can't make an informed decision, then that's on you as the professional.
See, that's a great question right now, because I want to hear what you say about this. At today's rates, where they are, give or take, how long would you tell people they need to own a house?
I'd
based on
say
current market conditions,
5 to 7 years.
Okay, good. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
I tell people, I said this morning in the meeting, I said, if you plan on being somewhere for longer than 7 years and you're renting a house, you're an idiot. Because people say, why don't I buy a house in market balls? Guess what? You are buying a house. You're buying somebody else's house. You're buying the house of the landlord that you live in.
Yes.
You're making his payments.
Yes.
You're buying that. You are buying a house. So I agree with that.
You're just out of control, right?
We second highest in the country as far as increases. Massive increases.
But still, though, we have some weird fundamentals here.
Yeah, we do.
It's still so much less than relative California.
Yeah.
So people don't understand sometimes. You got to look at the market in totality. When you look at Las Vegas, okay, a city of 2 million people, that has very comparable weather to California, which is also a desert. People don't realize that. Most, until you get to the coast, it's basically a desert.
Yeah.
So you have cheaper house prices than in like Bakersfield here still. So as a relative lateral move, it makes a ton of sense for most people.
Yeah.
Right? As long as you can still work offline, or, online or whatever.
Work online. Did you guys, did you guys happen to see this? I got to bring this up. Did you see those receipts from EDC?
Oh, yeah.
Bar receipts?
277
I
was
saw somebody post one the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought crypto crashed. I thought NFTs were in the toilet.
Somebody out there's making it.
Who got $250,000 to buy bottles of rosé?
I think that was the EDC executive party, because both of them said EDC Kinetic.
You think it was their executive tables?
I think I'm probably executive tables.
And it was the
Ace of
same
Spades and
waitress.
Class
Yeah,
A's.
it was
It was all
same
spades,
waitress.
Class
I thought the
A's,
same
and-
thing, but still,
That was my guess. I don't know how those seats work, but
if I was a billionaire, I could not
still
go
wouldn't
drop
do it.
that. I
That's
just
crazy.
everybody always says, "Oh, but just you don't have that money drop on it." No. I would not. Like what? Who drinks that much? I was at a table once at $150,000 minimum. Like 40 grand into it, everybody's blacked out.
Yeah.
They come to me and they're like, they still have a lot to do. I go, buy them get the most expensive champagne and then have
That's
the
a
girl.
table minimum is insanity.
That is
It
crazy.
Did you
is.
see the $30 unmet charge on that receipt?
yeah, $30 unmet charge.
Unmet charge?
Yeah,
For
because they didn't
$30.
spend enough. So
So it was like-
there's
They
a
rounded up-
$30
They spent that much money and then rounded it up $30.
because they didn't unmet charge.
Hey John, one more example, on selling payment for if there's any agents out there that are listening to us right now that this could help them. I always compare it to a car, right? Some people lease cars, some people buy cars. When you buy cars, I feel like you go in, you get a loan from the bank, you ask what the interest rate is. But if you were to ask 10 people, what's the interest rate on a lease?
Oh yeah, they have no idea.
I have a payment.
They would have no idea, right?
Called
They have
called the money factor.
It's called the money factor.
The money factor.
But they don't know that.
See,
So how do you
I
negotiate
do
a car
know that.
lease when you
Colt.
go into a car dealership, right?
You negotiate the money factor.
You negotiate the money factor.
Absolutely.
But I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 people don't know that. So they see the Lexus on TV that I can drive for $499. You go down there, it's actually $780 right by the time you get there. But it's because the dealers play with the money factor. It's the same thing. You're selling payment. You're not selling what the money factor or the rate is.
Yeah, I think focusing on what people can afford in that monthly payment is what is clutch going forward.
Yep.
And if you're
And explaining the whole rental thing, right? Like I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, should I be buying properties? Are you living in it? Then yes, you should go buy a property, right? Like it's, I don't know. I mean, you got people have been in the same house 15 years renting.
yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Like for example, and let me ask you this too, because obviously with affordability comes issues with prices rising.
Yeah.
So at our lender that we own, where Joey is the man, Streamline Home Loans, do we have any? What programs do we have? I'm not selling. I'm just curious.
Sure.
So what do we have right now? Minimum down payment for conforming loans.
3%.
3% is
If you're
minimum
a
on
first-time
conforming.
home buyer,
FHA.
nope.
No.
If you're a first-time home buyer, you can go conventional, 3% down. You gotta have good credit though, because the pricing does take a big hit. So that usually is the segue or transition into FHA.
Yeah.
So FHA is a tick higher; it's 3.5% down, but there's a lot more leniency on credit, employment history. It's not quite as stringent as
Were we
conventional.
640 on FHA or 680?
No, I mean we can go all the way down to 580.
580 now.
Yeah.
I knew it was-
I don't want to advertise
Yeah,
that.
please, yeah.
because those-
Come
those
on
deals
down
are
to
no-
Joey.
right?
But it's in toto, right? Like if they've been at MGM for 20 years, and they had a judgment for a medical bill. Like you can look at all those factors.
Yeah.
Compensating factors.
And that's why having the market even out a little bit is good for the market, because now you don't have to have cash. I mean, it's like it's so funny when a market changes, all of the innovations that come into the marketplace. Like, for example, we're seeing a lot of those companies now where you can come in and we'll write your offer essentially, which is cash, and then we'll convert it when you sell your house. Well, the rates are terrible and the points are terrible.
It's expensive.
When we get back to a normal market, now you can just go in with your everyday FHA-backed offer, and it's going to get accepted.
Listen, we have a program at your company.
Yeah.
That it's called Fast 15. We guarantee a 15-day close. Okay, 15-day close with an appraisal.
And we're closing them faster than that now.
We're closing. I think I did like 3 last week. We closed in 11 days, and we're picking up new agents from other brokerages, not just Simply, but other places that we're turning heads. I remember I got a call on Sunday from an agent. She worked for a different brokerage. And she said, I'm looking at this offer. First of all, it was a Sunday, right? I think I had Luca in one arm. I had like the spatula. I'm grilling my, half of them in the pool. And she goes, well, you answered your phone on a Sunday, so you go right to the top of the list. And I said, well, I'll always answer my phone unless I'm in the shower or I'm sleeping and I physically just can't do it, right? So she said, well, that means everything, because I've called 4 other offers. I called 4 other lenders. It's been almost 5 hours, and I haven't received one phone call back. So I got a leg up right away, right? And now, so then I'll build on that. And she said, so it looks like in the contract you got an 8-day contingency period for the appraisal, 10-day loan, 15-day close. Can you hit that? I said, you give me a contract, I'll prove it to you. We'll hit those dates. And we closed that loan in 11 days. I got a new agent now. I'm not saying I'm going to get all the business, but at least I'm a horse in the stable. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've been leveraging what we can do at Streamline that a lot of lenders can't do into building that business and really trying to stay one step ahead. But Fast 15-day close with an appraisal.
It's awesome.
If you're an agent in this market and you're not calling your loan officer, asking them, how should I structure this deal? Because we know the timelines that we can hit. That is about as aggressive as you can get. Kelsey does a great job of that. Copenhagen does a great job of that. Your whole team does a great job of that. But we work very closely together to figure out how we put our best foot forward. And a big piece of that is the speed that we can get these deals closed.
Yeah. I mean, again, any advantage you have, and especially, look, the market is changing, but it's still a seller's market. It still is. I mean, there's stuff out there that is starting to sin a little bit. Seller expectations are going to have to be tempered a bit to the market. But I mean, any advantage you have to get offers accepted is always good.
I have a generalist question.
Yeah.
Why is a W-2 employee preferred still with lending?
Because it's guaranteed income.
Guaranteed by the person who's not a W-2.
No, it's guaranteed by the company. So, for example, a Fannie guideline is you can go.
I got that.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Like my employee is technically, because nobody's paying my wage.
Yeah.
Right.
But my employee is technically less risky than me.
It's because you're Canadian.
When you're applying for a mortgage.
It's because you're it's a Canadian.
I'm American.
He's right. It's a Canadian.
I'm American.
Chad's Canadian.
Are you? Very cool.
Are you guys going to? Are we going to talk about syrup now?
Syrup. That's him, the Indian story we were talking about.
Yo, from Canada? Okay.
Top 5 syrups. Top 5 syrups.
Today's episode brought to you by Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons.
Get a double for a toonie.
For a toonie.
But that's something, like, just in terms of lending criteria. So I bring this in not because there's probably programs for me who's strictly,
right.
a flow through owner of companies that pay me but I generate 100% of it. I am somehow more of a risk than a W-2 employee for me, right? They don't even care. It's just as long as you're a W-2. Oh, you've worked there for 5 years as a W-2 employee. You must be on solid ground because your boss hasn't gone bankrupt.
Yeah. See, I think you're more risky because you touched a mummy. Well, I think eventually that's coming home to roost eventually.
But I did not touch the checkbox on a mortgage application for that. I just know because I've done some.
Is it mortgage fraud if you don't disclose the mummy touch? I think
but he did disclose. I saw the video.
That's a good
we all know that.
Public knowledge.
Everybody knows.
You're on record notice.
No, but it's. I mean, the mortgage industry, it runs on saleability, right? So. They're in the business of selling loans. They don't want to service your loan for 30 years. They want to sell it and move on, free up that money and fund more. And so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who are the government's largest purchaser of conventional loans, have guidelines. And those guidelines, they like W-2 income because they call it guaranteed income.
Isn't that funny? It's guaranteed because I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, man.
I guarantee this.
I get a call from, this happens all the time. I don't know what it is with this business, but like the pharmaceutical sales, medical sales rep people.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them, they start out as W-2 and then they get promoted and they call and they're like, yeah, I'm making $250 a year now, and I went from W-2 to 1099, and
you're
it's
like,
whoa, like you're dead.
They make so much more money.
Much more.
They write off more in taxes. They have a lot more advantages as a business person,
and that's the problem.
And it's like,
because you can't have it both ways. I remember an underwriter told me one time, Joey, you can't have it both ways. You want one government institution, Fannie Mae, to believe you made X, and then you want another government institution, the IRS, to believe you made Y, because you don't want to pay tax. You don't get to have it both ways.
Yeah. So that's totally fair if there's a discrepancy. If I am filing on my mortgage that I only do this, but I pay taxes on it.
We've said this many times before in this show. Love it or leave it, buddy.
That's
it. Love it or leave it.
Love it or leave it.
America.
But if
America,
go back to Regina.
If you're self-employed, you make $500,000.
Climb back into Regina.
If you're self-employed, you make $500,000, and you've got tax returns for 2 years, and you didn't write that 500 down to 3. You're okay.
Yeah,
fine.
We'll finance you, Chris.
Well, moral of the story for today, if you are someone that is considering getting a loan, man, don't be caught up in what yesterday's rate was. Don't even necessarily care about what today's rate is. Care about how that impacts you in the deal on a monthly basis. Don't buy more home than you can afford. Be shopping for homes based on what you can afford, and be shopping with a trusted loan person. So Joey, again, works for my mortgage company that we own, Streamline Home Loans. He's the ace. We love him there. So just make sure you're dealing with reputable people. Joe, how they can find you, how can they find you?
Anyway, my cell number.
What is it, Robert?
All right, 702-810-2552.
It's Mike Jones.
Mike Jones.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's it.
My email address is, I'm going to give him Colt's.
Give my OnlyFans.
Podperson at onlyfans.com.
It's Joseph, Joseph. My last name, Ciaglia, Ciaglia at streamlinehl.com.
Got it. Perfect. And so again, if you're looking to buy, focus on what you can. And if you are someone that is in the business of selling homes, shift the narrative, understand what the rates are, understand how they impact people, understand how to tell stories that are factual that will explain the market to people and move them from top to zero. Because if you're just focusing all your efforts on scripts that help you get in the door to a listing appointment or how to close a buyer's appointment, there's no value to you. You need to educate yourself on the bigger market. So thanks again for joining us for the Power Move. For everybody, if you want more links to what we're talking about, you can click the link below. If you're locked in on YouTube, make sure you give me a like and subscribe, hit that notification button. Or if you give us 4 stars or 5 stars, whatever it may be on whatever podcast.
5, John.
Whatever podcast system.
Just like Connell Law has across the board.
If you're not going to get 5, don't stop by.
The highest, that's it. Yeah, whatever it may be.
702 Connell.
And remember, if you hated what we did today, tell a friend.
Blame me.
No. If you loved what we did, tell a friend. But if you hated what we did, tell 2. Because it doesn't matter if we're talking good or bad about you. What does it matter, Colt?
As long as they're talking about you.
As long as they're talking about you at all. That's right. We'll see you next time. Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.